What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we are checking out the Bugera 6260 Infinium. Let's do it! Alright, hope you guys are doing great out there today. My name is Kyle, and if this is your first time here at my channel, what I do is I take awesome high-gain amplifiers, overdrives, guitar cabinets, speakers, pickups. I record them with a simple SM57 setup. I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that never know what camera to look at, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on your way out if you like the video so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks. All right, guys, I'm finally getting around to doing a proper review of this amp. I actually made a review of this amp when I first started my channel, which is pretty much exactly a year ago. Looking back on it, it's kind of hard to watch, to be honest. And also, I'm using an SM57 and an Sennheiser E609 mic kind of blended. So I kind of want to go back to my standard format and do a quick review of this amp with the SM57 on the V30, which is what we have pretty much been doing since, I don't know, just about the entire time this channel has been a thing. So I sold literally all my Bugeras and my big amp sale, and I gotta get them packed up and get out of here. So I just wanted to do a quick demo of this thing and kind of showcase it one last time before I no longer own it. So if you're not familiar, which I'm pretty sure that anybody who's watching this is, the 6260 by Bugera is supposed to be a knockoff of the PV5150 or 6505. They are very similar amps. They are not direct clones, and one of the first things that gives that away is there is a digital reverb instead of a resonance pot, so you cannot adjust the resonance on this amp, and I will tell you that that is kind of a big factor because the resonance control on the 5150 is kind of what gives it the ability to have that massive low end. This amp does not have the same low end reaction or capabilities as a 5150 or 6505. I know you can easily modify them to have a resonance pot in the circuit and be able to tap into that, but as they come stock, you do not have that option. Another dead giveaway is with the 5150, that's when PV was still using the parallel access preamp tube mounting technology or method or whatever you want to call it, where they were mounted like this. Well, in this amp, they are mounted pretty much standard. They're top mounted, and you can see them all behind the grill of the amp. So right there, that's gonna tell you it's not a dead ringer, it's not an exact clone, but for all intents and purposes, they do sound pretty similar. So this is an Infinium model, which means that you can put pretty much any power tube in there and it will self-bias. I'm not exactly sure how that technology works, but I can tell you up until right now, I had a mixture of two different types of EL34 power tube in there and it worked just fine. Because I'm selling this, I put in a quad of Sovtech 6L6 WXT tubes, I think. So that's what's in there. The preamp has JJs all across with a Chinese preamp tube in V1. So we're gonna go ahead and start going through some of these tones. That intro clip that you guys heard me play, I was using my Bugera Espada Custom with the Evergreen pickups, which is like a hot PAF type pickup. And in front of the amp, I was using the Westminster Augustine, which is like a TC integrated preamp circuit, but it runs at 18 volts instead of 33 volts. So we're gonna kick that off. We're gonna go over to the clean or the crunch channel, which is actually where I think this amp shines more than the lead channel. And I'll tell you why once we get there. But that's where we're gonna go. We're gonna go over to the crunch channel on this amp. I'm gonna set everything at noon. We have no boost in front of this thing, and I'm just gonna show you how it sounds. So that's how it sounds on the crunch channel with the gain at 9 o'clock. But much like a PV, that gain comes on pretty quick when you start to dial it up, even on the crunch channel. So, as you can tell, we're already fairly saturated. The Bugera overall just has more preamp gain than the 5150. Why? I don't know. In my opinion, that was a bad call on Bugera's part because the 5150 is already kind of overly gained out, and this amp has even more. Typically, I don't really like the crunch channel on the 5150 for my high gain style playing, but on this amp, I kind of prefer it because the lead channel has so much gain that most boosts, it just completely takes away the low end. It has too much gain, as I keep saying. Without that resonance, you can't really get that big low end oomph out of the lead channel. And also, one thing that I've really noticed about this amp is you have to EQ it completely differently than the 5150 because it is a lot brighter. It's a lot brighter up top. It can get harsh in a hurry. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep pushing that gain a little bit. And as you can tell right there, we've got a ton of gain going on. The low end on this is a little bit flubby because this is the crunch channel. So we're gonna turn down the lows. We're gonna turn up the mids and highs a little bit. So it's pretty tubby on this channel on the crunch with the gain dial that high with no boost engaged. You really got to dial that bass back and dial up some trebles and some mids. We could even probably dial the mids back, dial. So yeah, as you can tell, with the gain that high, it just muddies up a little bit. So let's pull the gain back. I'm gonna kick in just a regular old Ibanez tube screamer, since you guys are probably pretty familiar with what that does to an overdriven amp. And there immediately is our missing mids. It tightens up the low end significantly. So let's turn that bass up again. So that actually sounds pretty good. The mids are fairly forward, even though we've got them dialed back to like 4 here. The treble is good where it's at. The presence on this amp can kind of get over the top in a hurry. I'm gonna dial that low up even more. I'm gonna pull the gain back a little bit more. So, not bad overall. I'm actually gonna pull the mids up a little bit, pull the treble back, and let's get some of that presence in on this circuit. That does kind of have the standard like 5150 cocked wah mid thing going on. It's got the whole going on. If you don't know what a cocked wah sound is, a lot of people always ask me that. It's like turning on a wah just a little bit, if you've ever done that on a wah pedal. It kind of gives it this weird nasally filter type thing. Well, the 5150s have always kind of been known for having whatever frequency that is. Some people love it, some people hate it. I personally love it, and I hear it in this amp, so. So it's overall, I think that this channel sounds better than the lead channel, but it's also kind of muddy. And that's kind of where I really start to just prefer the PV5150, because the lead channel on that one, it's not the clearest thing in the world, but it's also not muddy, and it's not nearly as over the top in the gain department as the lead channel on this amp is. We're gonna turn the gain up just a little bit. Again, it's just a bit muddy, and it doesn't sound bad. It's just not nearly as much clarity as I would like. Let's try a different boost real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and try the Electric Eye Mud Killer, because you guys know that I dig that one a lot. So here's the Electric Eye Mud Killer in front of the same amp, same settings. Of course it's the same amp. I don't know why I would say that. I definitely like that boost in front of the amp more because it cleans up some of that low mid muddiness that's going on. So we're gonna pull the gain back a little bit, pull the bass up a little bit more. Clear, but again, not my favorite. Let's go over to the lead channel, check that out. All right guys, we're on the lead channel. I left the settings the same, but I have the gain all the way down at 1 o'clock, so let's hear how that sounds. No boosts are on right now. You really do not need a boost to tighten this amp on the lead channel, kind of like you do on a 5150 if you're going for the ultra tight stuff. I know a lot of people don't like boosts in front of 5150s, but I personally love them. But here, I honestly would rather not use a boost on this channel because it's already so saturated and bright and tight. It's not really necessary for me, so. All right, so let's turn that gain up a little bit. Okay, so this is actually a lower output pickup, so I'm able to get away with adding a little bit more gain on the amp. Typically, the pickups that I use are a little bit hotter, and it's like I have to leave that gain right around 1 o'clock or it's just too much. So here's the gain around 2. So yeah, like I said, it's just really bright as it's set right here. We can actually roll that treble back a bit. I'm gonna pull up the mids just a tad. And really, I don't feel like I have to do too much more to the tone to get it where I would personally want to use it. That sounds pretty good as is. Let's go ahead. Let's turn that gain down. Let's kick on a boost yet again. I will kick on the Tube Screamer and see what difference that makes to the tone. So that is really bright. We're gonna actually remove some treble, remove some mids. The gain is pretty intense as it is. I'm gonna add some bass. And that's kind of what I don't like about this amp on the lead channel. You could probably put some 5751 preamp tubes in V1 and V2 to kind of tame the gain on this thing a little bit. But I mean, even as is, it's just got so much gain that I got to dial it low, and it kind of almost thins the amp out a little bit, so. Pretty noisy in between notes and chugs there too. We're getting some sort of weird feedback. All right, guys, last thing we're gonna do today, I'm gonna grab my Gibson Explorer, which is currently in D standard. We're gonna check out some slightly lower tunings on this amp because I think that that's where the lead channel kind of shines on this thing due to how tight and bright it is. So yeah, that is D standard. The amp definitely seems to shine quite a bit in that tuning in my opinion because it really tightens things up. Because the lack of low end on the amp and resonance, it just kind of, the frequencies sit a little bit better at a lower tuning. It's not so thin and so bright sounding. It kind of actually brings the drop C or D standard tuning. It brings the D standard tuning alive a little bit in my opinion, whereas some amps like dual rectifiers and stuff like that can just be really, really hard to tame in the low end department when you start to tune down. So I'm gonna drop this to drop C, play one more riff, we'll call it a day. And just like that, we're out of tune. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me today on the Bugera 6260. What did you guys think about this amp? Tell me down below in the comments. Do you think that it is a good, cost-effective alternative to the now much higher priced 5150 amps and the 6505 amps, which are also slowly climbing in value? These can be used around $300 to $400 depending on where you look. I personally would probably still keep searching for a used 6505 myself and wait for a good deal to come up, but I don't think that this amp sounds bad. I just think it has some shortcomings in the gain department, and not having that resonance control is kind of a big no-no for me because I really like to fine-tune my low end with that. But let me know what you guys heard down in the comments that I did not hear here in the room, and I'll meet you down there to chat about it. Always curious to hear what you guys think. Down in the description of this video is where all my support links are. If you want to help the channel out, you can check out my Sweetwater affiliate link, consider becoming a member of my Patreon, and I also have my Facebook group and Discord server links down there. Consider becoming a part of the belligerent amateur community. Would love to have you guys along for the ride. Thank you so much for watching. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.